Somebody wants to say something. Somebody, please. Okay, no problem. I don't see you. Yeah, Agatha, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to question anything, because this is not necessarily my position. Okay, don't be afraid to question anything. Okay, this is an actual learning experience. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Absolutely. I think this both proposals, I think, approach, they clash because they want they want that students learn. Yeah, they want to look around and use everything, all the elements around to get students learning and to get the highest scores with the students.
Let me recheck if I am following you. The idea is this: it's either the students alone or the students and some surrounding elements that may contribute to help them learn. This is A, the students alone. Here, the students plus some factors. The two theories, do you think they clash or they coincide?
I think they clash because, I think they clash, but don't.
Which do you favor?
I think they be absolutely right.
Absolutely.
They are, because the students are the most important thing in our teaching process. Yeah, so they are the.
That's what the dogma says, which is something I question.
That's right, but
anyway, your position.
We have to be near students always, right?
Okay, but again, we are not in class only to be near them. We are in class to produce learning.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, but we need to be near, but not as a central thing there, right? We could be, as you told before, right?
I got you.
Yeah.
We there, but not only to be together. We are not here just to pass the time. We are here to produce learning.
That's right.
Okay, good. Nicolas, go ahead.
Good evening, teacher. Well, in my case, for the first part, that having in mind the assumption of the centrality of the students, so it is to foster learning, just assuming that the students are the center is not enough to real foster learning, in my opinion, because when we become teachers, we need to make this idea that designing activities to encourage participation, critical thinking, and especially the active use of learning, of the language. For example, instead of just simply explaining grammar on the board, we can create communicative tasks as role plays, interviews, problem-solving activities, for example. In a role play, for example, the students are pretending to buy something from a shop. They are not only practicing vocabulary, but they are also developing especially fluency, confidence, and interaction skills that sometimes I've seen that it's a problem in secondary schools here in Peru.
Nico, let me confirm if I am following you correctly. So you say you favor the SCLS approach. The student is there, but we are not here just to pass the time. We are here to produce learning. We are not here just to look at him and honor the student. We're here to produce learning. And in order to produce learning, we need to pay attention to the student, but also to the factors that foster learning. Did I read your idea appropriately? Yes?
Yes, exactly. For example, just today we had a class and the teacher, for example, focused on giving examples, for example, for a reading, about this movie K-pop Demon Hunters that is really now trending in Netflix, and she was using examples from characters of that movie because she said if the students find or realize that there is something that they know that they have seen recently, they are going to pay more attention to it.
Sure.
So we have to focus on what the students want, what the students need, and what the students care about also.
Good. And now you're saying we should care about their needs, about their affections. By definition, learning tells you, hey, look at what they feel. Hey, look at the cognitive goal of education. Remember that learning is the ultimate goal within the framework of general education. We are here not only to teach English, we are here to make them people with better, capacities, skills, competencies, whatever. That is the ultimate, the final goal. We are here to educate people, not only to teach English. You agree? Okay, one little thing, Nico. Are you there? Nico, still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you're saying, look, let me help you clarify the idea. I already got what you say. So you don't buy the idea of, you don't buy the learner-centered approach proposal. You don't buy it.
I think...
Not by itself. Not isolated.
Yeah, not isolated.
Yeah, but you see, that is the dogma now. Now you are questioning what UNESCO says. And you are questioning what Daminedo says. But that is the official dogma. That is the official paradigm. The student is the center. What I noticed out of my almost 50 years of experience with all this, now I notice that people love to repeat the idea that the student is the center. Many of you, several participants have repeated, yeah, it's beautiful, sounds beautiful, but it is not real. It is not working. And the next question was, should they be the center? You don't totally agree with the idea. And now comes Nico and says, sir, the idea is not if he or should be or not, or it's or not. That is not a question. I mean, that is my reading of your contribution. You're saying, we are here to produce learning, not just to pass the time, not to entertain the student, not only to motivate the student. We are here to produce learning. And for learning to happen, to foster learning, we need to pay attention to the student, not as the center necessarily. We need to produce, to take care of the student and the student needs and affections. We need to make them socialize, to make them think. You said you were doing this class with movies. Okay, you're making them think. And while they are thinking and exchanging ideas, they are socializing. And according to, depending on how you administer the class, they will like the class or not. And that has many chances to become learning in the end. But there's one factor, one thing you're omitting. The student is there, the activities are here, and who organizes the activities? The teacher.
The teacher.
So you also need a teacher. We will not ignore the teacher. Teacher, look at my hands. Teacher, activities, roughly, okay? Activities, method, and techniques, and everything, what they call the learning environment, okay? Okay, student, appropriate learning environment, and teacher. 3 components. So if, this is my way of reflecting, if my ultimate goal, if my final goal is to produce learning, why should we center on just one of these 3 components? There were 3 components, 3. Which should be the center? One of them or all of them?
I think all of them, because
all of them. Okay, little by little, all of them. But again, the reason to be here is not centralizing anything. The reason to be here is learning. How about this proposal of mine? It's not only me. There's people that also says this. If my final goal is learning, to produce learning in the student, and in order to produce learning, I'm following you, Nico. In order to produce learning, I need a student, I need an appropriate learning environment, and I need a teacher. Why not thinking of it like this? Centralizing learning and all the factors and agents that foster learning. How about that? Does it seem to make more sense?
Yeah, it makes.
Let's move on, Nico. Blue, you had something to add, I guess?
Yeah, yeah, Mr. Ore. Student centrally is a necessary condition, but not a sufficient one. It must be combined with intentional pedagogy, assessment for learning, and environment that motivates a support that this motivation that supports the learner.
Blue, relax a little bit and give it a second thought to this. If you insist on the centrality of the student, you might make mistakes in designing the method. You might make mistakes concerning the learning environment, because you said the student is the center, and you might not be careful enough about the method. I know many people, I know the people that I know more in this profession is the people that tend to favor the method, not the students. The common ordinary person in the street, when they question the education system, they say, how's the school going? How's education going in Peru? It's a disaster. I'm repeating what the street says. Education in Peru is a disaster. How come? The teachers don't teach well. They blame the method. They blame the method. And who designs the method? Who introduces the method? The teacher. You see the problem? You get the problem, Blue? If you centralize the student, but you don't have the appropriate learning environment and the teacher is not well prepared, or you confuse the idea and you say, let's centralize the student. Hey, hold it. Again and again. We are not here to centralize anyone. We are here to produce learning. And I think, my personal opinion, if my main concern is to produce learning, that should be the center of my concern. I am here to produce learning. What do I need to produce? Learning in whom or for whom? For the student, okay. That should be my main concern. Learning for the students and in the students. Counting on what? Counting on an appropriate attitude from him. He may want this or that. Does he have or show the appropriate attitude? How much can I contribute to make him adopt a more appropriate attitude? There are some factors we cannot control. In regular classes, we basically talk about motivation, which is basically limited to what happens in class. There are many things I cannot control. I cannot control. A student that comes to class, imagine he's suffering because his pet passed away this morning or yesterday night, whatever. He's not going to be in the mood to learn. No matter what I do in class, I might stand on my hands, wear I don't know, do magic in class, tell jokes and organize a dynamic, whatever. If the students don't have the appropriate attitude, they will not be in a position to learn. What am I talking about? I'm talking about affection. which is a component of the definition of learning. Learning, they say, is an affective, cognitive, and social process. Affective. They have to come ready to learn, but they're not. Rosita might say, yeah, you motivate them, but you cannot control what happens in their brain because their pet or his pet passed away last night. That's called what? Motivation? No, that's attitude. You cannot control the reaction of the student if he didn't have breakfast this morning. Can you overpass that with motivation? No. What is this telling us? This is connected to what Damsa and the lunch called the learning environment. So there's something more beyond my nose. It's not only the method. What happened to him or her before he came to class? Does he come to class with the appropriate, with a willingness or readiness, the necessary readiness? You understand what I mean? Readiness. Readiness, not only willingness, readiness. Is he ready? Effectively ready, cognitively prepared to learn? Many people believe motivation is the magic word. I don't. I see motivation limited to what happens in class. A dynamic, do this, stand up, raise your hand, let's sing a song, motivation. But there's another factor that we don't consider in the local education system, attitude. Motivation grows out of principles that rule North American education. The concept of attitude is more akin to European education. In Latin America, we tend to look at the student more as a social being, as a social person, as a human being. In North America, motivation is supposed to do the magic word and wake him up, and they say, story goes, they will be ready to learn. Not really. There's one more thing beyond motivation, that is attitude. It's like too complicated. A good place in motivation, all this within what Damsa and the lunch call the learning environment. But again, my main concern is not shouldn't be, in my opinion, shouldn't be the student, because I don't come here to honor anybody. I come here to produce learning, and in order to produce learning, I need this, and this, and this, and that. My proposal. What should be the central concern? Learning and all the factors that produce learning. Learning and all the factors that produce learning. Okay, this is not finished. Let's listen to more people here. Damsa and Delange have contributed a lot to this discussion, because they say, yeah, it's not only the student. You might have the student, you might think he's ready, but if the learning environment is not appropriate, if the methodology is not appropriate, he won't learn, or he's prone not to learn. I'm not saying that he won't, no, he will tend not to learn. Now, theoretical contributions from our professional field. This is in the books. Let's be clear about this. When you talk about needs, when we talk about needs, we tend to generalize. We say, why do they need? Now, there are two types of needs. The needs for communication. That is why we teach them to talk, to write, and we think that they need language to communicate. But they also have needs connected to learning. They need some things, some elements, some factors, some components in order for learning to be a reality. So there are two types of needs, communicative needs and learning needs. As a tradition, we have tended to think of basically communicative needs. But again, the communicative needs of the students may vary. They may vary. I might need to talk or to write. That's possible. It's not only necessarily that you have to develop listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Not necessarily. That is the tradition. What they say, what the book say is, communicative needs may vary in accordance with the features of the linguistic environment where they are situated. And hence, we might need to diversify the goals of the course. For example, in a study with Hans we made last year here at La Cantuta, we came to the conclusion that our students are not necessarily getting the expected results. They are here to become professionals, education professionals. English might be a need for them. English might be a need, yes, we agree on that. But are we moving in the direction of their professional expectations? They want to be teachers. And are they going to necessarily talk and write? In the meantime, while they finish their career, their professional education, they might need to resort to books, literature, information that comes in another language. But because we are teaching them listening, speaking, reading, or writing, we are devoting most of our time to developing 4 goals. While I think, and this is the conclusion of our study with Hans in La Cantuta last year and the year before, 2 years working on the same idea, we might need to refocus the goal of the course. We might need, for instance, we might need to say, emphasize reading comprehension as the main goal of the course. Look at what I just said, main, not only. Main goal, do reading comprehension oriented to help them understand literature connected to their field of study, to their careers. I'm not talking about reading about Superman or Mickey Mouse, no. So much resources to waste. We have to be realistic. We don't have that much money, we don't have that much time, we don't have that many human resources. We have to be kind of stingy about our resources. Be careful with every cent we invest on them, or on education, on producing learning. Open your eyes to this, open your mind to this. The communicative needs may vary. How about the learning needs? This is connected to what Damsa and Delange say. We should have in mind that the students perceive communicative needs, their attitude towards the learning experience. Yes, plus the various features of the local environment, including the certainty of the availability and accessibility. 2 concepts. Availability, they are there, but can they use them? No. One thing is availability, another thing is accessibility. The computer is there, but they cannot use it. The computer is there, they can use it, but the line is poor. The connection to internet is poor, which is what happens in La Cantuta. The computers are there, old-fashioned, though. They can access the computer, but it takes a while to access the internet. So we have to be careful about both the availability and accessibility of necessary physical resources. The appropriate professional support. A teacher that has a good command of the language and understands clearly what their job is all about. You have to clearly understand what language is all about. We have to understand what communication is all about. And then, and only then, adopt the appropriate methodology and prepare or adapt the congruent learning materials. The materials come by the end. I have to take prior decisions concerning the learning needs. This is basically the idea advanced by Damsa and Delange. My contribution, my proposal, pieces everything together, puts everything together. And somehow what I am proposing is to open our eyes a little more, a little wider, and say, the student is the center, but am I careful enough about what I'm giving them to produce learning? To the extent I continue centralizing the student, and willingly or not, I tend to disregard the importance of the learning environment and the teacher and everything around, everything and everybody around. That is why I talk about factors and agents. I think we might need to revise our ideas in this direction. What is the rationale I propose for a learning-centered approach? What is the logic? What are the reasons behind it? Okay, here, we both, students and teachers, meet in the classroom in order to pursue a clear goal. We are not here just to pass the time. We are here to pursue a clear goal, generate learning for the students. In order to generate learning, we are expected to have a clear understanding of the students' communicative needs, so as of their learning needs. If we depart from the stated goal, learning, and we want to secure its fulfillment, we should make sure that we count on an array of factors and agents that include what? Factors and agents that sustain the learning-centered approach. That comprise what? Students with the necessary positive attitude to learning. Beyond motivation, we have to see we tackle attitude. We have to see what we do about it. A careful consideration of the features of the learning context. This is dumps and the lunch. Availability and accessibility of the resources that may help secure learning. The resources are there, but they have no access to them. They're old-fashioned, they don't work. For example, my experience in La Cantuta in the past 14 years I've been here show me this. In every class, for example, in a class of 25 students, when they have virtual classes, remote classes, what I see is that on the average, 5, 6, or 7 have difficulties to access the class because of the limited availability or accessibility of resources. But what happens is that we organize classes just like that, and we open a virtual session, and we just start a class. And I noticed the students don't open their cameras, they don't activate the cameras, and we pretend I am generating knowledge or teaching with the old jargon, and they pretend to learn. How can they learn if they don't open their cameras? You're supposed to learn to communicate. If you don't open your camera, you won't improve. You won't improve your communication skills because you don't understand what communication is all about. Communication implies looking at one another. Communication implies understanding what language is all about. And language is not only grammar. Language beyond the mouth, beyond what the mouth produces. Human language includes pragmatics, proxemics, how I dress, how I look, a number of factors that go beyond what the mouth produces. In this classical study from 1976 by the University of Los Angeles, they say that, in summary, they say that 7% of human language is verbal. Only 7% of language is verbal, and 93% is non-verbal. So through this experience, what we have basically shared is 7% of the components of language. I have been talking basically to a microphone. I couldn't reach everyone because, I don't know, 2 or 3 never answered. Alex was on his way home. And another one, Agatha, made an interesting contribution. I had difficulties to hear because of the line. But in the way, she was there. But it was only if she gave me the pleasure of looking at her for only 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. At the moment she used her camera, then I limited the features of language only to listening. But listening by itself does not make up for communication. Communication implies 4 skills. But communication beyond the linguistic components implies also semiotics, which means what I do, how I talk, the manners and all that, intonation and all that. To make sure that we count on these factors. Okay, students with a necessary attitude a careful consideration of the features of the learning environment to follow Danza and the lunch, availability and accessibility of resources, availability of the necessary professional assistance. Okay, to follow Rosita, we need a tutor, not a teacher. Okay, and we need to organize back to the learning environment. We need to organize the chairs, the seating arrangement in a way that helps, collaborates, fosters interaction, socialization. Why? Because by definition, learning is a social experience. And finally, we also need, and here I am following Holiday, an appropriate methodology and appropriate learning materials. You see, methodology is in the end. This is the references. You have Bandura, Chomsky. Chomsky had an important contribution where he came out with the idea that grammar, language is not only grammar, and that we process language. We don't learn it just by repetition. That was Chomsky back in 1957. Damsa and DeLange, we have already read their contribution. It is Holiday that talks about appropriate methodology and social context. The idea is that we shouldn't choose any method. No, something that is appropriate, adapted to the local context and to the needs and to the feelings and to what the education system is expecting from me as a tutor. Hutchinson talks about an alternative that I didn't include in the summary, I guess. Let me recheck. Yeah, I didn't include Hutchinson in this presentation, but in the same direction of Damsa and DeLange, Hutchinson had a seminal contribution from 1987. And this is where he says, yeah, we could diversify goals. We don't have to do listening, speaking, reading all the time. Centralizing reading or emphasizing reading comprehension, like, for example, what I think we need at the university might be an alternative. That is Hutchinson. Rogers says about the need to look at the student as not as a learner, but as a human being. In the same direction go Goodworth and Vygotsky talks about the socializing thing, the need to at learning as a social experience. That's basically it, and the ideas I have said to share with you, and I don't know if you have some. I don't know. I'm all ears, and to finish with the philosophical appropriate attitude, my proposal is to inaugurate a new way of looking at learning, centralizing learning itself. I am aware that I am kind of trying to generate what they call a paradigm shift, cambio paradigmático, and I know from experience, from studies and from reflection, that fostering paradigm shifts is not that easy. A paradigm is a model, a way of doing things, and because we have been used to a paradigm, it's difficult to change. It's not easy to change a model. This is the way I was teaching, I've been teaching, so don't tell me, Mr. Ore, don't tell me stories that things are different. This is not about saying who is right or who is wrong. What I suggest to do is look at the student, not centralizing them. Look at them as human beings, but we get together with the students not only to pass the time. We get together in order to produce learning in them. I think, in my opinion, this paradigm needs revision. It's not only me, it's Damsa, DeLange, it's Hutchinson, it's many people out there. It's only that these are the people that are the schema-breaking people. And schema-breaking people like our dear Dr. Edith Zarate, she's kind of breaking passive attitudes in our university concerning social consciousness, political consciousness. And obviously, we come across difficulties when we want to change people. Change or the suggesting change naturally generates resistance. Psychology teaches us that resistance is natural. We feel that no, UNESCO is right and Minedo is right. You have said through the presentation, I mean, several of you, that, yeah, that is the formula, that is the paradigm, but it is not working. So let's do something about that. I'm not going to generate a revolution. I want, and I would invite every one of you to produce further reflections and to see the way to start generating changes or provoking changes in every individual space we move about through the development of our career. Let's see, in order to finish, 2 or 3 participants who want to and are willing to. Thank you for opening your cameras. Thank you very much. Now, I noticed that this was a communicative experience by the end of the.
There are some questions. There are two participants, Roger and Giancarlo.
Roger Edwin Isidro Fabian. Roger, go ahead.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Rey. Good evening, everyone. Actually, it's not a question. It's basically a remark. I think what you have stated today, it's great. It's not only a student-centered approach. We have to, in a way, think about learning per se, right? So we're there with a mission. So we have a mission. And we have to do whatever it's our hand, basically, towards that mission. As you have mentioned, we're not in class just to have fun and to motivate the students and to spend time. No, we're there with a purpose. And we have to do our best. So we have to choose the best methodology, the best materials, okay? And we have to change, I would say, our strategies all the time. Many times we might devise a marvelous lesson plan, but perhaps it doesn't work, once we're in a class. And we have to be ready, I would say, we have to be flexible enough, I would say, to change it when it happens. I totally back you up. I would say the idea of learning, okay? We have to center on learning, okay? We are there with that purpose.
So this final line again, to make sure I'm following you. So somehow you see there's some consistent possibility to make things by espousing the learning-centered approach. Am I right?
Of course.
Right? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So you and I are now, from now on, are kind of trying to break the traditional dogma, which people repeat and repeat and repeat with no positive results. And that is very interesting.
Just one little thing. Can I?
Sorry?
Just one thing to add?
No, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. It's basically what you have gone, I would say, today, I would say I came here today to express and to propose something, okay? You came up with your idea. But then you were looking for responses, you were looking for some contributions and reflections, I would say, from us. And it was kind of hard. Basically, that's an analogy that we might encounter in our lessons, right? We will go there with a proposal and we ask the students and students don't respond. Mm-hmm. And we have to be persuasive enough, I would say, to change the strategy, as you have done. So initially you were calling for volunteers, but then that didn't work. So you were looking for other alternatives and you started calling us, right?
But did it work in the end?
It worked. Of course.
Thank you, Roger.
Okay.
Giancarlo, our dear colleague and friend. Giancarlo, welcome. Were you in class all the time?
Yes, I was listening to your lecture and everything that you said during this.
You didn't give him a chance to look at you next time. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry about not turning off my camera, but I just want to add something that everything that you said is true, and I think most of us we have moved beyond the center student approach thing. Since normally what we are trying to do in class is create a good environment for them for learning to occur, actually. So it's not about just the students, but it's about how they will how they will feel in class, no, for learning to occur, considering every single aspect. Now, and this reminds me of something that I was talking with my students yesterday. Yes, yesterday. We agree on something like this need analysis. You remember during the masters that we talked about all the time, and I think that this is part of it. No, whether or not we are focusing on the central, focusing on the students or focusing on the environment, because actually they are like complementing each other. It's not like one is the best and the other one is not. It's like they create bridges, no, for learning to occur actually. But the thing is that if we want that, we need always to analyze what the student needs actually, and that is always happening all the time. And as I was saying before, something that we discussed yesterday is that what if one student, no, or well, in a class, we have a variety of students and only a couple of them have the experience of traveling, just traveling by plane. What if the lesson is about traveling by plane? Would the other feel comfortable about it? Maybe not, because the only one who had experience will know what to and how to talk about it, but the others probably will not, and they will not understand every single expression used at the airport. And probably that lesson, even the environment is okay and everything, but that will not occur because that will not be info for them. And we need to always come with this need analysis, which is basically like wrapping up everything that you said.
Sure. Now, let's see, back to the needs analysis thing. Yeah, the beginning of the whole story, needs analysis, before implementing any project, any plan, any course. We have, in a summary way, we just talk about needs, taking it for granted that we know the needs. The thing is that we don't know the needs. Minedu has stated formally that this is what we need. But we have never made a needs analysis in our country. Franks and I took the time in the past 2 years to do analysis of our students' needs at La Cantuta. We interviewed Edith, Liliana, we interviewed Rosa, we interviewed people from the department, we interviewed the authorities, and most important, we interviewed the students. We checked results, we contrasted goals set by the department and results, counting on the students' opinion and the way they showed they had a more or less command of the language. So no theory, or theory versus practice. So theory needs analysis that not only deal with what I think their needs are. No, the British came to Peru from 1983 to 1966 to implement this programa de mejoramiento de la enseñanza de inglés en educación secundaria. I was fully actively connected to teaching English in high school in those years. And they said, this is what the students need. They were here 11 years, 10, 11 years. By the time they finished the project, nothing had happened. Because they decided in advance before landing in Peru, they decided that the needs of the students were their perceived needs before leaving from London. No, needs have to be established in the context. You have to talk to the people. You have to apply a bottom-up approach to ask the people there. You have to ask the people up there. But basically, one has to prevent is a bottom-up approach as the final users in order to establish in a consistent way what the needs are. That is as a first point as a reaction to your question. Now, the second part deals with diversity. Well, we might need to revise these theories of learning styles and Gardner's theories of multiple intelligence, which is not the purpose of this presentation. But they are there, okay? So there are students that have different needs. Yeah, oh, sure, I understand that. The problem is that Peruvian education is not based on individual needs because of shortcomings, limitations in money, resources in general. It's a luxury we think of posing individual projects for every individual student. That's the ideal thing. Well, this is not Norway. This is not Switzerland. This is not Finland. This is Peru with our limited resources. That is why I said we have to be stingy. The Ministry of Education should be more stingy, more tight-fisted about how they spend every single cent they invest on education. And they're not. And we have to move in the same direction because Menudo is not doing anything about it. Well, it is the time, and this is my personal attitude as a reaction to that. Am I expecting the world to change? And I don't know. I'm not expecting great changes. Well, I expect change. You know what I've decided to do? The world doesn't want to move. So what I do is I try to move the world, the immediate worlds, the immediate context around me. That's what I do. So I try to introduce change in this little classroom, and then the second classroom, and little by little, this is the way I introduce or do an effort to introduce changing in the little places I move about. I'm not dreaming of changing the whole world. This is a tentative initial effort to formally launch a tentative revision of the old dogma, the student-centered approach, and this is not it. This is the beginning. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for your time. And again, this is nothing final here. This is an open project. Elaborate on your own. Think about the immediate reality you face every day. Think of your own students. Think of your responsibility and what you are doing in class. This is not only to do with method. This is not only to do with didactics. This is to do with a newer look at language, communication, and education as a holistic experience, which is usually to follow and finish, to follow and respond to or react to Henry Guidoson's diagnosis produced in 1978. Guidoson said in 1978, ELT has developed isolated from the social context. Don't believe me. Believe him. He's British. So this is only, and again, to finish, actually finish. I am opening the debate and the invitation to rethink your professional practice. And that's basically it. Thanks at your disposal. Thank you very much.